Hey, soldier. Yeah, I'm fine, thanks for asking. What happened? Well, you see, I was trying to get some sweet deals on Black Friday, and I got into a bit of a scuffle with some of the other customers. I was less than 3 feet away from this waffle maker when some fat bitch knocked me to the floor and tried to get it before me. I quickly got back up and showed the whore that I wanted it a lot more than her by lifting her in the air and deploying the tombstone pile driver on her fat ass. After securing the waffle maker, I continued my mission to the electronics aisle. I knew that's where I'd encounter the most hostiles, and I was right. My first opponent was a single mother and 2 children. I picked up the oldest of her offspring by its ankles and threw it into the ceiling. I then thunder-cunted the younger child at the woman, taking the 2 out in one move. After the 3 of them had been neutralized, I was free to secure the package. I didn't know what they were trying to buy, but whatever it was 30% off, so I had to make sure I was the one who bought it. Continuing my mission, I had my eyes on the next objective, an Xbox. Now, did I already have an Xbox? Of course, but it was selling for 60% off, so obviously I was going to grab it. Unfortunately, some snot-nosed little kid was trying to get to it first. Now, I know what you're thinking, but Master Chief, you could easily beat up the child and just take the Xbox by force. And you'd be right. However, the little bastard had reinforcements. His father was with him. Undeterred by the enemy's larger numbers, I braved forward and onward to make sure I didn't let the Xbox fall into enemy hands. I grabbed the little fucker by the neck and launched him at one of the display televisions. First hostile neutralized. Moving to the father, he tried to tackle me. Big mistake, buddy. You just left the Xbox unattended. I threw his scrawny IT department ass off me with ease and began to make my way to the objective. The father had already recovered, however, and tried swinging at me from behind. Using my expert knowledge of hand-to-hand combat, I dodged his weak punch and returned with a wild haymaker to the chest, sending him flying back down the aisle and likely breaking at least 3 of his ribs. Not wanting to risk him recovering and trying to further intervene, I pulled his son's limp body out of the television and swung him like a baseball bat right into the father's face, resulting in a guaranteed knockout or maybe even killing him. Second hostile neutralized. Assuming the fight was over, I turned to make my way back to the objective, only to see that the Xbox was gone. Some other bastard had taken it during the distraction, but I already had eyes on them as they sprinted down the aisle away from me. I closed the distance between us in 3 strides, knocking them to the floor. That's when I realized who my opponent was. It was that same fat bitch who tried taking the waffle maker from me. I knew she wasn't going to stop trying to take things from me, so I had to finish this once and for all. First, I deployed a surgically placed punch to her fat gunt, knocking her off balance, which allowed me to get in a second punch, this time to her double chin. Unfortunately, the enemy's large surface area absorbed most of my punches and meant that she received little damage from them. The behemoth woman then retaliated with an attack of her own, swinging her heavy, beefy forearm at me. I was knocked back into a large pile of cardboard boxes. The beast was already making her way towards me to attack again. Using my quick thinking, I looked inside the boxes for something to use against her. I found a snow globe. I picked it up and threw it at her. Now, obviously, it wasn't hard to miss her. However, maybe it would have been better if I had, because all that happened was the snow globe bounced off her bulbous gut and ricocheted back at me with extreme velocity and force. I quickly ducked with my cat-like reflexes, dodging the projectile. I then got up and slid out of the way of the woman who was currently barreling towards me like a charging rhino. I had to get the Xbox out of her hands somehow. I attempted to tackle the enemy, but it was no use. She was simply too goddamn fat. The bitch responds by picking me up by the throat with her free hand and trying to choke me. Things are getting desperate. Plan turns to asset denial. I managed to reach out and pull the Xbox out of her sweaty hand before swinging it into her skull with all my force, shattering the console beyond repair and taking the enemy out in the process. I stumbled to the floor and quickly caught my breath before looking at the carnage that I'd just unleashed. I'd won. But at what cost? Well, apparently the cost is 6 months in jail and a lifelong ban from stores on Black Friday.